All right, somebody else who's probably already turned on her Mr. Coffee is Judge Jeanine Pirro. There she is right now, joining us live. Good morning to you, Judge.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We're doing okay. It's good to have you on this Friday. Hey, what do you make of the fact that Joe Biden, you know, he's going to unveil a $6 trillion budget today, spending a lot of money that we don't have, and it's going to cost a lot going forward for future generations. But he says we really need it. We got to continue to pull ourselves out of the pandemic and so much more. What do you say to, if the president was watching and listening to you, what would you say?
Well, I say, are you stupid? I mean, first of all, we're on the heels of inflation, number one. Number two, there's so much money into the economy right now that people don't want to go to work because Joe Biden is giving them so much money that they'd rather stay home than go to work. But what has really got my goat here is we're talking about $400 billion in health care, okay, and all of the infrastructure that he talks about, which is really a social services safety net. So when we've got all these illegals coming through the border, I mean, we've got to pay for them for their health care, for their education, for housing, for food. And that's what this is. We are literally putting our kids and our grandchildren into debt for generations. And, you know, right now on the heels of inflation, and now he wants to raise taxes. It's not a good time to do this. Republicans are in total opposition. Even Joe Manchin indicates that he's very uncomfortable with this. But, you know, that's what a Democrat thinks. You know, if you got a problem, make government bigger and just spend more money on it and it'll go away. But it won't. And that's the problem.
Hey, Judge, you bring up that we've incentivized people to stay at home. We've incentivized people not to return to work. I remember when we have gone through various recessions in this economy throughout our history, we've had conversations about how long unemployment benefits should last. And we've talked about how long does it take for someone to become permanently unemployed? Essentially, a culture sets in, a habit sets in. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, he was talking about this recently at a House Financial Services Committee. He thinks people are just at this point reluctant to get back to work. Listen to this.
The reasons are manyfold, including some of the unemployment insurance, including the fact that our schools haven't reopened up, and including the fact that people actually have a lot of money and they don't particularly feel like going back to work.
Judge, what's your reaction? People don't feel like going back to work.
Well, you know what? I totally agree with what he's saying. Look, I have a friend who owns a small business, many friends who own small businesses, and they say to me, Jeanine, we can't get people to come back to work. They're basically saying I make more money not working, and once in a while I'll do a home visit and make cash or do something under the table. This is a nightmare. This is a prelude to socialism. What they're trying to do is get people so comfortable that they don't go back to work. And unfortunately, you know, one of the things that the federal government and the states' governments have to figure out is if you are not going back to work, but your old job has offered you a job, why shouldn't your old job be able to report to the federal government, look, I offered Joe a job, he won't come back? At that point, you know, maybe the government's got to, like, take some responsibility. If you're handing out the money, maybe you ought to pull it back because the guy's refusing to go back to work while the rest of us are working 24/7 to try to keep up with our bills and the impending taxes.
Yeah. Judge, this week we learned from the New York Post that when Biden was vice president, he had a dinner with Hunter Biden and some of his business associates. This is coming from that infamous laptop of Hunter Biden's. And there's been some discussion about why the media isn't more focused on this story. So why do you think they should be? Why does Hunter Biden's business dealings, as they relate to Vice President Biden, when Biden was not a president or vice president, why does it matter?
Well, it matters because it's all about pay to play. It's all about Hunter Biden, who's had a lot of problems providing access in the United States to people in Russia, to people in China. I mean, China, he comes out of there with his father after flying over there on Air Force Two, and then denying. Joe Biden lied to the American people over and over again. He told us that he never talked to his brother. He never talked to his son about their businesses. And yet now we have photographs of them. Now we have that laptop. And by the way, they never denied the authenticity of that laptop. And so now, you know, big tech comes in as along with the media to say, we're not going to let the American people hear about this. I mean, can you imagine if it were Trump that went over there and then they brought back $1.5 billion from China, or $3 million from the widow of the Russian mayor of Moscow? I mean, this kind of foreign money that is penetrating the United States government at a time when we should be at odds with China. I mean, all of us are in this pandemic and suffering from it now 15 months because of something that came from China. I don't think that anyone can disagree with that. And China won't give us access. China is controlling the World Health Organization, and the Bidens are over there, you know, Hunter for sure, collecting cash and bringing it home. And then we hear about Louis Freeh reports from the FBI that he gave $100,000 to Biden's grandchildren, you know, so that he could do work with Hunter Biden.
Yeah. Who knew you could do that? All right. I'm sure you're going to be talking about this and so much more this weekend. Who you got lined up for the big show on Saturday night?
Well, we got Rand Paul, Dr. Mark Siegel, Byron Donalds, Tommy Lahren, Leo Terrell, Laura Trump. And the issue is, how long is your vaccine good for? And number two, you know, what about this vaccine? Was it created intentionally to infect humans? It didn't go from animal to human. They were ginning it up so that it could infect humans. Why? Why was this being done? And why can't we get to the bottom of it? It's all on Justice on Saturday night.
We will be tubeside. All right, Judge, have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us.
You too.
All right.
Here, Judge.
Bye.